How's it going? So this is not my M240i, just pretend that this is the M240i and not my M2. My M240i is obviously gone. I sold that car if you've been following my videos. If your first time watching it, thank you for clicking on this video. I really appreciate it. I had my first service on this car about a few days ago. DCT service, very expensive, and it kind of inspired me to make this video. Very popular in the car community on running costs. Essentially what I'm going to do is break down all the running costs on my M240i that I owned. So I owned the car for a little over 2 years, and now with the car being gone, that whole loop is kind of closed. So I'm no longer incurring any expenses on the car. So if you're planning on purchasing an M240i for yourself, you can kind of expect to know what you're going to pay for the car, and hopefully that can give you an idea of whether you can afford to run one or not. Let's jump into it. Now, I do apologize, I do have to wear my glasses because I can't see crap without them. These do not have any anti-glare on them, so there will be a little bit of glare on them, so I apologize for that. I am getting new glasses in the coming weeks. Yeah, here we go. All right, so I'm going to be breaking this down into a couple of categories. First category is going to be service costs, so like oil changes, air filters, stuff like that. Category 2, I'm going to do stuff that broke on this car. The first thing I had to do, emissions test, $20. Not bad, just pretty standard here in the US. Next service item I had, oil change and air filters for $159 and change. Pretty standard there. That was at 45,000, 5,000 miles in, oil change and filter. There is another oil change at 50,000, so that's another $159. Now the next big kind of expense that I had service-wise was at 55,000, so $686.74. What did I get in that service? I had a Remus exhaust installed, and I'm going to subtract the kind of optional items from the actual service costs. Remus exhaust installed, carbon fiber diffuser installed, stiffening plate under the car fixed, and oil change. Of that $686, we can subtract about $500 for the exhaust and diffuser installation, so really $180 for oil change and the stiffening plate installation. Coolant top off, $39.46, so I had to buy a bottle of coolant. So if you know anything about the B58 engine, you will know that there's one kind of main issue that they really have. The coolant tends to evaporate through the coolant cap. That was just a top off, one and done, never had to do it since. Next, another oil change and air filter. So this one, because of a a service plan issue, came to $326, but I ended up recouping 150 of that, so it's kind of a long story as to why that one's that much, but we can subtract 150 from there. Next, major service at 60,000 miles, $1,751.05. So this was transmission service, so oil and filter for this car, or my old car. Spark plugs were replaced, the rear differential was flushed, and it also had a coolant flush. All that for $1,751.05. Now there was another oil change about the same time, just a couple miles later, $147 and change, so $150. Then there was another emissions test. And that is it. When you subtract the about $500 for the Remus installation that was in that one first kind of $680 package, and the $150 that I recouped, so it comes to a little over $2,650 over the course of 2 years. That is more or less how much you could expect in a best case scenario. All these were actual services that needed to be done with this car. The only one that's kind of iffy is the transmission service, because officially BMW doesn't say you have to do it. But if you know anything about transmissions and ZF, they recommend replacing it every 50,000-60,000 miles. If you plan on owning the car long term, or if you're a second or third hand owner like I was with the car, that's definitely something you want to do to kind of help the longevity of the car. Plus, it's just kind of a good thing for the next owner, you know what I mean? That is all for service. So, I missed the brake fluid service on the other thing. I don't remember how much it was. Let's just add another $150 to the service cost, so that'll bring it up to $2,800. Let's just add that onto there. It's a lot of money. So service-wise, it's not bad. Now, as far as stuff that broke on this car, really not much. So I mentioned the stiffening plate under the car. A bolt got stripped by the speed bumps on my job, so that had to be replaced. And then the actuator clip on the exhaust snapped. Literally like a week later, I was changing the exhaust anyway, but it was a $10 part So, and it's an easy DIY. That is that. Now I will touch on gas a little bit. I did about 25,000 miles in the time that I owned the car, and I would say I got probably about 250 miles for fill. Ultimately, it was about 100 fill-ups that I had to do in the car, nice and even in theory. Came to about $5,000 for gas for this car over the course of 2 years. So that's a lot of gas. That is, yeah, take that as you will. Gas, I mean, it kind of is what it is, but it is an expense you got to factor in. Last point I'll touch on is insurance. There's so much that goes into insurance that it's not even really worth covering. It's very different depending on where you are, where you live, how old you are, all that good crap. So now I'm not going to in my head add it up. I'm going to leave it on the screen so you can see exactly how much total it cost me to run this car. Alright, thank you so much for watching. I hope you found this video helpful if you plan on purchasing an M240i for yourself. It really doesn't cost that much to run, so if you can financially afford the car, but you're worried about service costs, that's pretty much what you can expect on like an absolute best case scenario. So it's really not that expensive. Again, this is inspired by doing my service on this car for the first time. I took it to this awesome place, Munich Motorsports. They had really awesome cars in the showroom. I'll just show those really quick. So they had a Lime Rock Edition M3 E92. They had a BMW i8. They had a few other M3s in the showroom, and then this awesome, I believe it's a CSL. I don't remember what it is off the top of my head, but I'll have it listed in the thing in the video. If you like this video, please give it a like. Please subscribe if you want to see more videos about the M2 and then other topics I'm going to get into later on. If you have any questions about certain costs, anything like that, comments, please definitely leave it in the comments. I will get back to it. I will answer every single comment. It's all appreciated. So until next time.